Welcome to Issues of Contemporary Politics with Dr. Brovkin. Today, my dear friends, subscribers, and visitors to my channel, I'd like to speak one more time on the recent developments in the Russian Ukrainian war. And there were two ones. The one that the entire Western media is talking about is the severe and hard hits on Kiev and other Ukrainian cities by Russian missiles, which is presented in mass media as attack on civilian targets and the brutal Russian aggression and all kinds of other similar epithets. At the same time, there were two Ukrainian strikes, which are either ignored or reported in a scanty, bypassing way, and that is the drone attack on the suburb of St. Petersburg, Ukrainian attack, and on a bus in Crimea. This attack was done by a drone operator uh, during the night, and it hit a passenger bus that was going on a regular basis on a schedule across Crimea, and there were 8 people killed. So these are the two strikes that need to be discussed and put in the context. Now, first about the Russian strikes. And that has been pointed out by various observers that they are not ordinary strikes. They're not just a revenge on the murder of 21 schoolgirls in Lugansk province, but they are a part of a shift in the war. And this is what I'd like to discuss today. Is there or is there not a shift in the war, the way it is conducted by the Russians? Now, first, the facts. There were about 600 uh, vehicles delivering the strikes, and only 6 casualties. Now, of course, this immediately proves that if the Russians were attacking civilian targets and they were trying to maximize the number of civilian casualties as the Israelis do, then of course there wouldn't be any six. And the detailed study of the targets show beyond any reasonable doubt that these are all factories. These are all military hardware producing facilities, such as Firepoint assembly line that assembles British missiles that are then shot at Russia. So far, despite some talk about hitting the decision-making centers, has not been done for his own personal reasons. I'm sure political, diplomatic, ethical, and other. Putin has not yet authorized strikes on the decision-making centers in Ukraine. It has all been military targets. But the significance of these strikes is bigger than that. And that is seen in the um, in the kind of weapons they were used and in the kind of response that the West has made. Now, first about what has been used. For the first time, the Russians used Zircon super hypersonic missile. This is one of the best that Russia has, and it has zero interception rate. It goes at 10 Mach speed, and I did some research on which kind of speed can be intercepted by what kind of missiles. The What I understood, and I'm not an engineer, but what I understood is the relatively slow hypersonic missiles, such as Kinzhal, can be potentially, theoretically intercepted by PAC 3 Patriot missiles. Now, these go about 2-3 Mach, which means 2 or 3 times the speed um, of sound. But those that go 8 or 10 cannot be intercepted by any existing interceptor missiles. And so this is the Zircon. This is partly Iskander missiles. And the Russians have used from 7 to 15, depending on who is reporting. And these are unstoppable. So in a kind of a message, there's messages being exchanged. The message that the Russians or Russian general staff is sending to Kiev and to its Western sponsors is that uh, we're getting serious. We have the weapons that cannot be stopped, and that we are going to destroy whatever you deliver to Ukraine. Now, exactly at the same time, which is 3rd June, yesterday, Rutte, the General Secretary of NATO, and 36 ambassadors to NATO came to Kiev. Is a kind of a show of solidarity to Ukraine. Now, it would make sense that they would show solidarity in the context of Russian bombardment of military infrastructure. But what makes it kind of embarrassing is that they came on the same day when the Ukrainians launched two drone attacks on non-military targets, and especially, I mean, the one on the bus. Uh, Coming on top of the attack on the college with 70 wounded and killed, 21 killed, the rest wounded. Coming on top of that, just a week later, it confirms one more time that the Ukrainians practice what by international law is a war crime. It's attack on a purely civilian target. What could be more pure civilian than a bus or a college dormitory? So the attack on St. Petersburg is this typical propaganda in Zelensky style. It draws attention. It shows to the Ukrainian nationalist public, oh, we can do this. We can spoil Putin's economic forum in St. Petersburg. It's all PR, no substance. Moreover, if we look attentively at what Rutte said and what he could show and deliver to Zelensky, it increasingly looks like powerlessness of NATO. There's nothing they can deliver. They talk about 300 million here and 400 million there, and Norway would contribute, and such a country would contribute, and Germany is going to build this and that. But the reality is that the NATO countries and the Europeans have nothing to give Ukraine. They can give money, but money does not equal weapons. And the weapons are produced in the United States. These are the Patriot missiles, and even those, only Pack 3 can get the slow moving Russian hypersonic missiles, and there's no weapon existent that can stop Oreshnik or Tsirkon or more advanced Russian hypersonic missiles. In other words, this was a show of solidarity, but mostly it was just a kind of a empty talk. Um, what's remarkable, though, is the political message that Rutte's visit to Kiev showed. Coming with 36 ambassadors, it emphasizes the solidarity is their word, but it emphasizes again that NATO considers Ukraine path to NATO membership. Now let's not forget the NATO path for Ukraine is one of the causes of the war. In this context, it's a clear signal to Putin that the Rutte and the like are still considering Ukraine as a potentially a NATO member, which basically means that Russia has to continue the war until they take it off the agenda. And no more show up in Kiev. Now, what's interesting is that I was watching Russian talk shows and their reaction to it. And what I noticed is that it is getting increasingly belligerent. On the Solovyov show, which Mr. Doctorow cites quite often, uh, uh, Solovyov said very simply, we should have hit them all right there. Rutte and his 36 ambassadors and show to them, just like the Iranians do, that we mean business, no NATO in Ukraine, and show it with a physical force. Now, these statements, of course, could be dismissed as sort of propaganda or outbursts of some radicals and the nationalists and so forth. And for that reason, they are. But the fact is that they are being voiced, and that there is a constituency for those views in Russia suggests that Russian public is getting fed up by the incessant assaults on civilians, on buses, on schoolgirls, on various other targets um, in the bordering provinces. As far as the St. Petersburg attack is concerned, there was a lot of criticism in Russian media on the incapacity, which they explained simply by negligence and by the lack of a command structure, because the fishermen saw and heard those drones flying. And then one of the commentators in the talk show says, well, if the fishermen heard it, why couldn't the military patrols and the border patrols see it? And if they saw it, then why couldn't they shoot it down? Well, they could have if they had the helicopter squadrons patrolling the area. And of course, they also confirmed that the drones flew from Estonia. Without any doubt, they flew from Estonian territory, which of course invited one more time the question whether Russia should hit back to where the drones came from. And in his recent interview, in his press conference, Putin said that if it is established that drones fly from a certain foreign territory, that would be hit back. Well, the question people are asking now, why are they not hitting back Estonia if this is what they allow themselves to? And finally, this brings the question, a much more serious and a difficult question to discuss, and that is that various responses um, to the current situation. Now, Peskov, just the same time yesterday, on the 3rd of June, said that peace could be achieved if Zelensky ordered the withdrawal of Ukrainian forces from the Russian territory, as he put it. Now, that in itself raised a lot of brows and questions that have been postponed for quite some time, but lingering there as a potentially very, very explosive matter. And that is, if the Ukrainians withdraw, is that all? What about other goals of the special military operation? What about denazification? What about demilitarization? What about restoration of Russian language rights and the Russian Orthodox Church and the change of government? Now, that is all on the agenda, but yet Peskov's words suggest that one could make a deal with the current regime. And some observers have, and I'm reporting to you what the Russians are saying in their shows and in their debates and in their newspapers. This is unacceptable for a large part of the Russian population and especially for the army, because to live on with this regime that is shooting at Russian civilians and sending drones with Western manufacturers and providers is unacceptable. And therefore, uh, from this point of view, it seems like there are competing factions in Putin's government and maybe in his own mind. Um, on the one hand, those that would like to put an end to the war and make an acceptable deal. Now, the NATO response seems to preclude that. They're not in any mood to make any deal with Putin. On the other hand, there are those who say the only acceptable outcome of this war is a total capitulation of Zelensky regime, and entry of Russian troops into Kiev. So this is where we are, my dear friends. The events are escalating. We are witnessing escalation of this war, and it would be important to watch in the next few weeks which direction it would go, towards the smashing of Zelensky regime, or towards making a deal on whatever conditions they would agree to. And we shall follow, and I'll keep you posted. Thank you very much, and please subscribe, and please put a like if you do like. And of course, I invite you to read my book, From Vladimir Lenin to Vladimir Putin. Goodbye.